Good morning, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is enjoying the US Open so far. I know I certainly am. We've had some huge upsets so far before the last 16 stage, with all three Olympic medalists out. Lorenzo Musetti, Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic all exiting the tournament very early, which I think just goes to show how deep the ATP Tour is at the moment, and that if you're not at your absolute physical and mental best, you will be found out, and that's what we saw particularly with Carlos Alcaraz and Novak Djokovic. I don't think either were at the best physically or mentally, very exhausted after the Olympics, but credit to their opponents who played fantastic matches. And now we look ahead to 8 quality matches to set up the quarterfinals. From the quarterfinal stage onwards, I will have all their head-to-heads on the screen, a little bit of a write-up on how I think the match will play out. But just with there being so many matches, I've just done quick graphics and we'll talk you through my predictions for each match. So kicking things off with Andrei Rublev of Russia up against Grigor Dimitrov of Bulgaria. As you can see there, both these players have played each other quite a lot, 9 times in total. Starting off with Rublev, he's won a lot of hardcourt titles in the past. He is very suited to these fast hard courts. Although I think Rublev lacks variety on clay and on grass, his game style is very suited to fast hard courts in the sense that he's got a consistently good first serve. He loves first strike tennis. His forehand and backhand are ultra consistent. He doesn't make as many unforced errors as other players in the tour. He hits a very flat, deep, hard ball, and he's just difficult to break down because of his consistent pace and depth. Dimitrov, on the other hand, does bring a lot more weapons to the court. You know, he's been serving fantastically well. He's suited to the hard courts. He's got great variety in his backhand with that single hander. He's more creative than Rublev. He's better than Rublev around the net. And with Dimitrov, we've seen him get to these stages of Grand Slams in the past and have great opportunities to reach semi-finals and finals, but he's never been able to quite deliver on those performances. So far in the US Open, I think it's the best we've seen of Dimitrov for a lot of months, and this match is very, very close. I have just edged it to Rublev in 4 sets. I just think his consistency in the big moments, with how deep and flat he hits the ball, I do feel like he will break through the defences of Dimitrov. And when I'm picking between 2 players, but I think it is really a toss of a coin, then I do prefer a double-handed backhand over a single-hander. I just think it's more consistent, more reliable, and I'm going to go with Andrei Rublev to go through this one in 4 very, very tough sets. Moving on now to Casper Ruud against Taylor Fritz. Now, Casper Ruud was 2 sets to love down in his previous round match and then came back to beat the young Chinese player Zhang in what was an excellent comeback, but a disappointing opening couple of sets for Casper Ruud. And I think it was more of his physicality and experience got him through that one rather than quality, because Zhang was the better player in the opening 2 sets, which aren't great signs for Casper Ruud. Ruud's a player that we know is consistent across all different surfaces. He's fantastic to watch. He brings lots of different looks in the court. He's got great variety, excellent speed, defense, counter-punching, will to win. We saw him play some ridiculous points in his previous round and throughout this tournament in terms of his defense and the lengthy rallies that he wins. Does bring excellent variety to the court as well, but I'm not sure he's got the power to really trouble Taylor Fritz. Talking about Fritz, he's really suited to fast hard courts. We know he likes to play first strike tennis, serves a lot of aces, got a huge forehand and backhand. Fritz in the past is another player similar to Dimitrov that has thrown quality opportunities away at Grand Slams. But I feel like Fritz is a player that, as he climbs the rankings, plays more Masters and Majors, gets more and more experience on the big stage, that he is improving. And I think this is a brilliant opportunity with the likes of Alcaraz and Djokovic out for him to really make a mark and progress at the US Open. And on a fast hard court, the game style of Fritz is certainly better suited than what Ruud is on a hard court. And I would expect Taylor Fritz to win this one if he handles the pressure of the US crowd. So I'm going to go for Taylor Fritz to win this one in 4 sets. Moving on to Alexander Zverev against Brandon Nakashima. Did say in my preview that if Alexander Zverev turned up and won any Masters or Major, then it wouldn't be a surprise to me at all. I think he's been one of the most consistent players of the past 2 or 3 years. Without doubt, one of the top 5 players. I think he's got a fantastic serve. His backhand's one of the best in the tour. Where I think he's really improved his game the past couple of years is with his movement, his creativity around the net, the way he attacks the net now with real authority, his volleys. He was just setting the break down the previous round at Zverev, and we saw Zverev use the serve and volley a lot, hit deep, heavy ground strokes into the corners, attack the net, and that's what really turned the match around with his net play. And I feel like Zverev's got that in his armoury now, where he used to just become an excellent baseline player. He's now got the ability to attack the net and be creative and use his hands and his wide span. And I think that's really what's turning Zverev's career on an upward trajectory. And Zverev's a player that could win this title. And to be honest, I feel like with his performances and consistency over the past couple of years, he does probably, deserve a Grand Slam title or certainly another crack at a final. Brandon Nakashima, in my opinion, has been one of the best players to watch so far this week. He's had a tough draw, played fantastically well, beat Lorenzo Musetti in the previous round in 4 fantastic sets. I really enjoyed that match. And Nakashima is a player that actually plays quite similar to Zverev, but I just feel like Zverev does everything a little bit better in terms of his consistency from the back of the court, his net play. He serves better than Nakashima, his backhand down the line. And I think we'll have some brilliant baseline exchanges in this one, and Nakashima could push Zverev all the way. We haven't seen the absolute best of Zverev yet in this tournament, and Nakashima has played some excellent tennis. So if Nakashima can win the first set, we could see an upset in this one, particularly with the backing of the US crowd. But I'm going to go as Zverev to win this one in 4 as well. Moving on now to Alexei Popyrin and Frances Tiafoe. Popyrin obviously came into the tournament in fantastic form, having won the title in Canada, and then defeating Novak Djokovic at the US Open was an incredible win. Djokovic was nowhere near his best, served terribly throughout the whole tournament, but you can't take anything away from Alexei Popyrin. To beat Djokovic over 5 sets at any Grand Slam in any shape that Djokovic is in is an incredible feat. And yeah, Popyrin is playing some brilliant tennis. I don't think he actually played his best match that I've seen of him recently against Djokovic, but it was enough to get over the line. On to Frances Tiafoe, who I spoke about in my preview. Wouldn't surprise me if he made a major run. I think Tiafoe is a player that really thrives off the US crowd. He loves being on the big stage on Arthur Ashe. He's such an entertainer. He gets the crowd on his side with the amazing points that he plays, the shot making that he has, the real X factor. And his match against Brent Shelton was a brilliant one to watch. Tiafoe done an amazing job to turn that around from 2 sets to 1 down, used all of his experience, used his level head, and performed fantastic in the last 2 sets to grind it out in 5. This match is, again, a toss of a coin, as many of these last 16 matches are. A reason I went with Popyrin, I just think he might be slightly fresher. Tiafoe hasn't been reaching the back end of tournaments in the past 18 months and had a very long, physically tough and mental tough match against Ben Shelton. Popyrin's got an excellent serve. He's got the ability to win games very quickly with his first strike tennis. Won a title recently in Canada, got that win over Novak Djokovic, and I just feel like in the big moments he might have the slight edge over Tiafoe. So I'm going to go Popyrin to win this one in 5. But that is, for me, one of the matches of the round. Moving on now to Alex de Minaur against Jordan Thompson. I watched de Minaur last night against Dan Evans. Wasn't overly impressed with de Minaur, to be honest. He made a lot more unforced errors than usual. I don't think he served fantastically well. Had Dan Evans been fully fit, then it would have been a very close match. Evans, played that 6-hour epic in the first round. De Minaur really took over from the 3rd set onwards. De Minaur's got fantastic physicality, fitness, speed, defense, counter-punching. He's an excellent player to watch, de Minaur, because he wins some points that he never should. Jordan Thompson on the other end, fantastic serve, loves first strike tennis, good around the net, and is very tough to break. On this surface, I feel like de Minaur is slightly suited due to the fast pace. I think he'll counter-punch very well against Thompson, who doesn't carry the huge power of other players on the ATP tour. I just feel like de Minaur's defense will force errors from Thompson. And although I think we'll get a lot of baseline exchanges and extended rallies, I think de Minaur come out on top overall. And I'm going to predict de Minaur to win this one in 4. Moving on now to Nuno Borges against Daniel Medvedev. I caught quite a lot of the Nuno Borges match last night. It was an absolutely incredible comeback win. He was 3-6 down in the tie-break in the 4th set in 2 sets to 1 down. Managed to win the tie-break somehow 8-6 and then won the deciding set 6-love. Borges is a player that's really transformed over the past 18 months, and although I feel like he's a very good hardcore player and will develop into potentially top 20 because of his consistency across all different surfaces, Daniil Medvedev for me is now one of the big favourites to win this tournament. I did say before that we know he's won this tournament in the past. His counter-punching and defensive abilities on a hard court cannot be underestimated. And now that Alcaraz and Djokovic are out of this draw, then Medvedev will see it as a huge opportunity to win another major title. And I'm going to go with Daniil Medvedev to win this one in straight sets. I think the fact that Borges played that fifth set yesterday and had a very, very tough physical match, that I do think Medvedev's your worst enemy to play if you are not quite 100% physically, because we know how well Medvedev defends, counter punches, how difficult he is to break down, how well he extends rallies, and how consistent he is from the baseline. I feel like Medvedev will win this one in 3 comfortable sets. Jannik Sinner against Tommy Paul. I said in my preview that I feel like Jannik Sinner is the best hardcore player in the world in 2024, and had the stuff about his failed drug test not come out previously, I would have predicted him to win this tournament. So far, he has passed the test. I feel like if Jannik Sinner was going to go out this tournament, it was going to be early, and due to the distractions of the media and the outside world about those failed drug tests. I don't think he started the tournament fantastically well. He dropped his set. I think he was a breakdown as well in the second, but has responded very well since. Now he looks really focused on the job. He's playing these consistent ground strokes in the back of the court. We know Sinner's a fantastic player, and as many of the players will see this now as a huge opportunity with the exits of Alcaraz and Djokovic. And for me, Sinner is just a level above Tommy Paul on a fast hard court. Although I think Paul's had a fantastic year. We've seen him have some epic matches with Carlos Alcaraz. I wasn't too impressed with Tommy Paul yesterday. I thought he made a lot of unforced errors. And in ground strokes, I feel like Sinner will really rush him. And Sinner's consistent depth and just ground stroke speed and serve will, in my opinion, be too much for Tommy Paul. But this could be a fantastic match if Sinner isn't at his 100% best. But I'm going to go Jannik Sinner to win in 4. Finally, Jack Draper, the young Brit, against Thomas Machac. And for Jack Draper, I think he's a player that I've watched a lot of over the years. I've never doubted his abilities. He's got a fantastic lefty serve, a great forehand. He moves well for a player of his size. His backhand is improving. He's good around the net. No doubt he's got all the tools. We've seen him, have some very good wins, including beating Carlos Alcaraz at Queen's early this year. Thomas Mahac's a player who's come through a very tough draw and yet to drop the set. His backhand is one of the best to watch in the tour with its variety, the angles that he creates, the change-ups that he has. Also a player that needs to use the net a lot because he doesn't have the huge ground strokes of other players or the massive serve. And my only question has always been about Jack Draper is his fitness and whether his body stands up physically. Haven't seen that so far. When Draper, whenever he's reached the 3rd or 4th round, he's never been able to quite produce his best because of his physical fitness, in my opinion, or whether the shoulders started to become a problem. That's been an injury that he struggled with in the past. And I feel like Mahac's very solid and doesn't make many enforced errors. He forces you to play well. He forces you to play lots of extended points. And I feel like Machac might just have the physical edge in this one and will win in 4 sets. So thank you for watching. If you would subscribe to the channel, it would be greatly appreciated. I am targeting to hit 500 subscribers by the end of the year. I will also be covering lots more tournaments, including Shanghai Masters, Paris Masters, and ATP Finals. So if you do want to see that and more coverage throughout the US Open, please do subscribe. If you also do want to comment on any predictions you have for the last 16, I do always enjoy reading those. So thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next video.